Welcome back, and thank you so much for being here tonight. Whether you're winding down after a long day, letting your mind drift off to sleep, or just looking for something to relax with in the background, you've come to the right place. Go ahead and get comfortable, adjust your pillow, pull the blanket up, let the sound of this just carry you wherever you need to go. Tonight, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to take one of the most beloved, most iconic, most enduring television shows in history, and we're going to peel it apart, layer by layer, character by character. We're going to look at The Simpsons in a way you have probably never looked at it before. The Simpsons has been on the air since December 17th, 1989. That is over 35 years of continuous production, over 800 episodes, 37 seasons and counting, with a renewal that takes the show all the way through season 40. It is the longest-running American animated series in history and the longest-running American primetime scripted television series by season count. It holds a Guinness World Record for most guest stars in a television series with over 800 unique guest appearances. It has been parodied, referenced, studied, analyzed, and dissected by millions of people across dozens of countries in dozens of languages. And across those 3.5 decades, something fascinating has happened. Fans, armed with thousands of hours of canonical material, have started building theories. Not silly little jokes or one-off observations, but deeply researched, meticulously evidenced dark theories that reframe the comedy you grew up laughing at into something far more unsettling. Something that makes you look at Springfield and its residents in a completely new light. Tonight, we are going to walk through 2 dark fan theories for every major Simpsons character. We'll cover Homer, Marge, Bart, Lisa, Maggie, Mr. Burns, Ned Flanders, and Moe Szyslak. That is 16 dark theories in total, each one grounded in real episodes, real dialogue, and real canonical evidence from the show itself. Some of these theories are famous, some of them are obscure, all of them will change the way you think about this show. So settle in, this is going to take a while, and that is exactly the point. If you enjoy this kind of content, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel more than you know, and it means you won't miss the next one. Now let's begin, where every conversation about The Simpsons has to begin. Let's talk about Homer J. Simpson, the patriarch. The nuclear safety inspector, the man who has held over 180 different jobs across the run of the series, the man who went to space, bowled a perfect game, managed a Grammy-winning musician, led a successful labor strike, and once accidentally created a religion. Homer is the heart of The Simpsons, and he is where the darkest, most famous, and most extensively evidenced fan theory of the entire show begins. This theory is called the Homer coma theory, and once you hear the evidence, you will never watch The Simpsons the same way again. It starts in season 4. Specifically, it starts with episode 3 of season 4, an episode called Homer the Heretic, which originally aired on October 8th, 1992. In this episode, Homer decides to skip church one Sunday morning. While the rest of the family is gone, he has the greatest morning of his life. He dances around the house in his underwear. He makes a special waffle. He discovers a penny. Everything goes perfectly. And then something remarkable happens. Homer falls asleep on the couch and has a dream. In that dream, he meets God. Not a metaphorical God, not a spiritual concept, but God himself, rendered as a towering figure whose face is never fully shown. And Homer, being Homer, does what Homer always does. He asks the big question. Homer asks God what the meaning of life is. And God, with a kind of gentle resignation, tells Homer that he cannot reveal it right now, but that Homer will find out when he dies. Homer, characteristically impatient, tells God he cannot wait that long. And God responds with 6 words that seem throwaway in the moment, but become absolutely chilling when you examine what happens next. God says, "You can't wait 6 months?" 6 months, remember that number. Because 6 months after Homer the Heretic aired, The Simpsons broadcast an episode that would change everything. Season 4, Episode 18. So it's come to this, a Simpsons clip show. It aired on April 1st, 1993, which was April Fool's Day. In this episode, Bart decides to pull the ultimate April Fool's prank on Homer. He takes a can of Duff beer and shakes it in an industrial paint shaker for hours, building up an impossible amount of pressure inside the can. When Homer opens it, the explosion is catastrophic. Homer is hospitalized, and while he's in the hospital, things get worse. A vending machine falls on him, and Homer slips into a coma. The episode shows the family gathering at Homer's bedside. It shows Bart feeling terrible about what he's done. It shows Marge holding Homer's hand and waiting. And then at the end of the episode, Homer wakes up, the family celebrates, everything seems fine, they move on. But the theory says Homer never woke up. The theory says that everything you've watched since April 1st, 1993, every single episode from that point forward, is a dream. Homer's dream. The fantasy of a man lying in a hospital bed in Springfield General, lost in an endless coma, constructing an entire world inside his own mind. And the evidence for this is staggering. Let's start with God's prediction. God told Homer he would learn the meaning of life when he died and that he couldn't wait 6 months. Homer the Heretic aired on October 8, 1992. The Coma episode aired on April 1st, 1993. That is almost exactly 6 months. God wasn't making a casual remark. God was telling Homer exactly when his life, his real conscious life, would end. Now, the coma theory was first articulated in detail by a Reddit user named Hard Topic a Name, and it has been discussed, debated, expanded upon, and refined by thousands of fans since then. The reason it persists, the reason it refuses to die no matter how many times the showrunners deny it, is that it explains so many things about The Simpsons that otherwise make no sense. Think about the tonal shift in the show. Before the Coma episode, before Season 4, Episode 18, The Simpsons was a grounded sitcom. The plots were realistic. Bart cheats on an IQ test. Homer tries to quit drinking. Lisa develops a crush on her substitute teacher, Mr. Bergstrom, played by Dustin Hoffman under a pseudonym. Marge worries about money. Homer gets fired and gets rehired. The stakes were domestic. The humor was observational. The world of Springfield operated according to recognizable rules. After the Coma episode, everything changes. Homer goes to space. Not metaphorically. He literally becomes an astronaut for NASA and travels to outer space in a shuttle. Homer works for a James Bond supervillain named Hank Scorpio, who gives him his dream life in a company town while secretly building a doomsday weapon. Maggie Simpson shoots the richest and most powerful man in Springfield. Principal Skinner, a character the audience has known for years, is revealed to be an imposter named Armin Tamzarian, who stole the real Skinner's identity. Homer joins the Movementarians' cult. Homer discovers he's been stupid his entire life because of a crayon lodged in his brain. Homer befriends an alien. Homer becomes a food critic, a bodyguard, a trucker, a missionary, a bootlegger, a vigilante. The shift is massive and undeniable, and while you can explain it simply as a creative team evolving and pushing boundaries, the Coma theory offers a more elegant and more disturbing explanation. The grounded world was real. The increasingly absurd world is the dream. Homer's unconscious mind, untethered from reality, is building an increasingly fantastical version of his life where he is a center of every adventure, every crisis, every triumph. And that detail matters because one of the most significant changes in The Simpsons after the Coma episode is who the show is about. In the early seasons, Bart was the star. The show was marketed around Bart. Don't have a cow, man, and underachiever and proud of it were on t-shirts in every mall in America. The Simpsons was Bart's show. After the Coma, the show slowly but definitively shifts its center of gravity to Homer. Homer becomes the protagonist. Homer drives the plots. Homer goes on the adventures. Homer meets the celebrities. This makes perfect sense if the show is Homer's dream. A dreaming mind will naturally place itself at the center of the narrative. The unconscious Homer doesn't want to watch Bart's adventures. He wants to be the hero of his own story, even if that story only exists inside his head. Then there is the aging problem, or rather, the absence of aging. The characters in The Simpsons do not age. Bart has been 10 years old since 1989, Lisa has been 8, Maggie has been 1. Homer and Marge have stayed roughly the same age. 35 years have passed in the real world, but in Springfield, time stands still. Every long-running animated show has this convention, of course. But the coma theory gives it a deeply sad explanation. Homer remembers his family at specific ages. He remembers Bart as a 10-year-old. He remembers Lisa as an 8-year-old. He remembers Maggie as a baby. These are the ages they were when he fell into the coma. And they are the ages they will remain forever, because Homer's frozen mind cannot update them. His children will never grow up because Homer will never wake up to see them grow. They are preserved in amber inside his dream, exactly as he last knew them. Now consider the celebrity guest stars. The Simpsons holds the world record for celebrity guest appearances. Over 800 unique guest stars have appeared on the show. And in Homer's coma dream, this makes a kind of heartbreaking sense. Picture Homer lying in that hospital bed year after year. Nurses come and go, doctors make their rounds. The television in the corner of the room plays constantly. Visitors stop by, and some of them talk about the news, about culture, about famous people. Homer's comatose brain is processing all of this ambient information. It hears voices it doesn't recognize and incorporates them into the dream as new characters. It catches fragments of news broadcasts and weaves them into Springfield's increasingly bizarre plot lines. It absorbs the passage of time without truly understanding it, which is why the technology in Springfield keeps updating, why characters suddenly have smartphones and social media and streaming services, while the people using that technology remain exactly the same age. The technology changes because Homer's unconscious mind can sense that the world around his hospital bed is evolving. The people don't change because Homer doesn't know what they look like now. His family could be standing right next to him, aged 35 years, and he would still dream of them as they were. Marge with her tall blue hair, Bart in his orange shirt, Lisa with her saxophone, Maggie sucking on her pacifier, frozen forever. And then there is the question of Homer's abilities. In the early seasons, Homer was a well-meaning but limited man. He worked a job he wasn't good at. He struggled to provide for his family. He made mistakes constantly. After the coma, Homer develops what can only be described as superpowers. He survives injuries that would kill anyone. He falls from impossible heights. He is electrocuted, shot at, mauled by animals, exposed to radiation, and he always recovers, always bounces back, always returns to the status quo by the next episode. This is wish fulfillment. This is the fantasy of a man who is, in reality, the most vulnerable version of himself. Homer is lying motionless in a hospital bed, unable to move, unable to speak, unable to protect his family. And so in his dream, he becomes invincible. He becomes the man who can survive anything, do anything, be anything. The dream compensates for the reality of total helplessness. Now let me take you deeper into the coma theory, because there is one more piece that most people overlook, and it is perhaps the most heartbreaking element of all. Think about the couch gag. Every episode of The Simpsons begins with the same general sequence. The family rushes home from their various activities and converges on the living room couch. In the early seasons, the couch gag was simple. The family would sit down, and something mildly funny would happen. But as the show has progressed, the couch gags have become increasingly elaborate, increasingly surreal, increasingly disconnected from reality. They have featured the family traveling through time, transforming into different art styles, dissolving into pixels. being swallowed by the couch itself, rendered as different species of animals launched into outer space and subjected to endless variations of physical impossibility. The coma theory explains the couch gag as Homer's subconscious trying to start the dream over. Every episode is a new dream. Every couch gag is the dreaming mind's attempt to reset, to find a stable starting point, to bring the family together in the living room and begin again. But each time it tries, the reset gets stranger. The mind is deteriorating. The coma is deepening. The familiar ritual of the family sitting on the couch becomes increasingly distorted because Homer's brain can no longer render reality accurately. In the early years, the couch gag worked. The family sat down. The dream began. Everything was relatively normal. But as decades pass in real time and years pass in the hospital, Homer's neural pathways degrade. His memories blur. His sense of what's real and what isn't becomes unstable. And so the couch gags become wilder and more abstract because the mind creating them is losing its grip on the basic structures of reality. There's also the matter of the town itself. Springfield, the town where the Simpsons live, has never been assigned to a specific state. This is one of the show's longest-running jokes. Springfield exists in a kind of geographic limbo, simultaneously resembling and contradicting every possible location. It has deserts and snowfall. It has coastlines and mountains. It has industry and farmland. It is everywhere and nowhere. In the context of the coma theory, this geographic ambiguity becomes deeply meaningful. Homer Springfield is not a real place. It is a place constructed entirely from memory, and memory is inherently imprecise. Homer can't remember exactly where he lives. He can't remember the geography. He can't remember the climate. And so his dream Springfield shifts and changes, borrowing features from every place Homer has ever seen, never settling on a consistent reality because the mind creating it doesn't have access to consistent information anymore. The show's refusal to identify Springfield's state isn't a joke in the coma theory. It is a symptom. It is evidence that the world Homer has built inside his head is fundamentally unstable, held together by emotion and association rather than fact and logic. And consider the recurring characters who seem to exist solely to torment Homer or to appear at convenient moments. Hans Moleman, who shows up everywhere and dies in increasingly absurd ways, only to reappear in the next episode unharmed. Gil Gunderson, the perpetually failing salesman who cannot catch a break. The sea captain, who appears in landlocked situations for no reason. These characters feel like fragments, like pieces of a dream that keep recurring, because Homer's brain is cycling through the same limited cast of background extras, unable to generate truly new people, forced to reuse the same faces in different contexts. If you have ever had a dream where the same person appeared in multiple roles, where someone who was your teacher was suddenly your doctor, was suddenly a stranger on the street, you know what this feels like. Homer's dream is doing the same thing, but on a massive scale across hundreds of episodes, recycling the residents of the Springfield he remembers into an ever-expanding theater of the absurd. There is also the question of what is happening in the real world while Homer dreams. If he has been in a coma since 1993, then over 30 years have passed at his bedside. Bart would be in his 40s. Lisa would be approaching 40. Maggie would be a grown woman. Marge would be elderly. Grandpa Abe, if he's still alive, would be ancient beyond imagining. Are they still visiting after 30 years? Does Marge still come to the hospital? Does she still hold Homer's hand? Does she talk to him, tell him about her day, about the kids, about the grandchildren Homer has never met? Or has the family moved on? Has the vigil ended? Has the room gone quiet? The show cannot answer these questions because the show exists entirely within the dream. We will never see the hospital room. We will never see the real Marge, aged and tired, sitting beside a bed that holds a man who will never wake up. We will never see the real Bart, a middle-aged man who lost his father at 10 years old and has spent his entire adult life wondering if Homer can hear him. We will never see the real Lisa who grew up to be whatever she became, doctor or president or teacher or mother, carrying the knowledge that her father is alive somewhere behind closed eyes but unreachable. We only see the dream, the endless, colorful, chaotic dream. Homer eating donuts, Homer strangling Bart, Homer kissing Marge, Homer working at the plant, Homer sitting on the couch. The same things over and over in infinite variations because the dreaming mind does not know how to stop. It does not know how to end the story. It only knows how to keep going episode after episode, season after season, forever. And maybe that is the saddest part of the coma theory. Not that Homer is trapped, but that the dream is beautiful. Springfield, for all its dysfunction, is a place full of love and laughter and family and friendship. Homer's dream, even if it is only a dream, is a world where his wife loves him, his children need him, his friends surround him, and adventure waits around every corner. It is a better life than many people get in reality. It is, in its own strange way, a happy ending. Homer chose the crayon. He chose ignorance over awareness, and in the coma, he may have made the same choice on an even grander scale. He chose the dream over reality. He chose the Springfield in his head over whatever is left in the hospital room. And who can blame him? If you could live forever in a dream where you were loved, where nothing truly bad could happen, where your children stayed young and your wife stayed beautiful, and every day was a new adventure, would you choose to wake up? Would you choose the hospital room? Or would you choose the donut? And the episodes keep going. Season after season after season. Over 500 episodes since the coma, and still counting. Homer's dream has lasted longer than most people's careers. It is the longest dream in television history, an infinite loop of adventures and mishaps and near-death experiences and narrow escapes, all taking place inside the mind of a man who may never open his eyes again. Now, I should tell you that the showrunners have addressed this theory. Al Jean, who has been the showrunner for the majority of the series, has publicly denied the coma theory. And in season 34, in an episode called Lisa the Boy Scout, the show itself acknowledged and parodied the theory. The writers are aware of it, and they want you to know that it is not the official explanation for anything. But here's the thing about canonical evidence. It does not need the creator's permission to exist. The episodes are there, the timeline is there. God's 6-month prediction is there. The tonal shift is there. The aging freeze is there. The escalation of absurdity is there. You can deny the theory all you want, but you cannot deny the evidence that inspired it. It sits in the episodes themselves, waiting for anyone who cares to look. That is the full weight of the Homer coma theory. And it is why this theory has survived for decades despite every denial from the showrunners. Because it touches something real, something that goes beyond a cartoon and into the territory of genuine existential dread. The fear that the life you're living isn't real. The hope that even if it isn't, it might still be worth living. Homer Simpson may be asleep. He may have been asleep since 1993. But in his sleep, he has built a world that has entertained billions of people for over 35 years. And if that isn't some kind of genius, I don't know what is. Which brings us naturally to the question of Homer's intelligence. Because the second dark theory about Homer suggests that the man everyone calls an idiot might be the wisest person in Springfield. But before we get into that, if you're enjoying this so far, take a moment and subscribe to the channel. We've got a long night ahead of us, and there are 15 more theories to go. Every subscribe helps us make more content like this, and I genuinely appreciate every single one. Now let's talk about the secret genius of Homer J. Simpson, Season 12, Episode 9. The episode is called HOMR, that is not a typo. It is spelled H-O-M-R, a reference to the novel 2001, A Space Odyssey. And in this episode, the entire foundation of Homer's character is called into question. Homer goes to the hospital for a routine procedure, and during a scan of his head, the doctors make a discovery. There is a crayon lodged deep inside Homer's brain. It has been there since he was a child. Homer, being Homer, had shoved a crayon up his nose as a kid, and it had traveled into his brain and lodged itself in a position that significantly impaired his cognitive function. For his entire adult life, Homer has been operating with a physical object pressing against his brain, making him dumber than he was ever supposed to be. The doctors remove the crayon, and what happens next is extraordinary. Homer becomes a genius. Not a modest improvement, not a slight bump in capability. Homer becomes brilliant. His IQ skyrockets. He can suddenly hold complex conversations with Lisa about literature and philosophy and science. He solves problems effortlessly. He sees the world with a clarity he has never experienced before. For the first time in his life, Homer Simpson is the smartest person in the room. And it destroys him, because intelligence, in Homer's world, comes at a terrible cost. His friends at Moe's Tavern don't know how to talk to him anymore. Lenny and Carl feel uncomfortable around him. Barney can't relate to him. The simple pleasures that defined Homer's life, the donuts, the beer, the television, the comfortable routines, suddenly feel hollow and insufficient. He can see the problems of the world too clearly. He can see Springfield's corruption, its environmental destruction, its systemic failures. He can see what's wrong with everything, and he can't unsee it. Worse, he can see what's wrong with himself. He can see all the years he wasted. He can see every mistake he ever made. He can see every opportunity he missed, every person he let down, every potential he squandered. And the weight of all that knowledge is crushing. Homer looks at Lisa, his daughter, the smartest member of the family, and he sees her clearly for the first time. He sees her frustration, her loneliness, her constant battle against a world that doesn't appreciate her intelligence. He sees that Lisa is the most miserable person in the family precisely because she is the most aware. She carries the burden of understanding, and it makes her life harder, not easier. So Homer makes a choice. He goes back to the hospital. He asks them to reinsert the crayon. He voluntarily chooses to give up his intelligence, to return to the fog, to go back to being the Homer everyone knows. He chooses ignorance. He chooses happiness. And the theory builds from this moment outward, because if Homer chose to be stupid once, what if he has been making that choice in some form his entire life? What if Homer's apparent foolishness is not a limitation, but a defense mechanism? What if every bumbling mistake, every absurd decision, every moment of obliviousness is Homer protecting himself from a world that intelligence would make unbearable? The evidence runs deeper than just the Awash episode. Throughout the entire run of the series, Homer has demonstrated flashes of extraordinary capability that are completely inconsistent with genuine stupidity. In Season 4, Episode 17, Last Exit to Springfield, Homer leads the nuclear power plant union in a labor dispute against Mr. Burns. He doesn't just participate, he wins. He outmaneuvers Burns, one of the most cunning characters in the show, and secures a dental plan for the workers. The strategic thinking required to beat Burns at his own game suggests a mind far sharper than Homer typically displays. Homer has been a successful businessman multiple times over. He's run his own snowplow company. He's managed a Grammy-winning musician. He's operated a successful internet company. He's been a bootlegger, a food critic, a bodyguard, and a professional astronaut. Yes, many of these ventures end in failure, but the fact that he can launch them at all suggests latent ability that he chooses not to sustain. There's also the broader theory that every member of the Simpson family is secretly a genius, but most of them choose not to use their intelligence. Grandpa Abe fought in World War II, served in multiple covert operations, and accomplished remarkable things before old age caught up with him. Bart, despite being a self-proclaimed underachiever, demonstrates sophisticated strategic thinking, natural language aptitude, and complex planning skills. Marge was an excellent student who abandoned her academic potential to raise a family. Maggie, a literal baby, has performed feats that are physically impossible for an infant, including shooting a gun with apparent precision. And then there's Lisa, The one Simpson who fully embraces her intelligence, the one who refuses to dull herself, who insists on engaging with the world at full capacity. And what does it get her? Depression, isolation, frustration, an endless cycle of fighting battles no one asked her to fight, championing causes no one wants to hear about, and watching every hard-won victory evaporate by the next episode. Lisa is the cautionary tale. She is the proof that intelligence in Springfield is a curse, not a gift. And Homer, consciously or unconsciously, has looked at his daughter's life and decided that he would rather eat donuts in blissful ignorance than carry the weight of knowing how broken the world really is. The crayon may have started the process. Homer was genuinely impaired by a physical object in his brain for most of his life. But when given the chance to remove it permanently, when given the chance to live as the brilliant man he was always supposed to be, he chose to put it back. That was not the action of a stupid man. That was the most sophisticated philosophical decision any character on the show has ever made. Homer Simpson chose happiness over truth. He chose love over awareness. He chose the donut over the existential crisis. And maybe, just maybe, he was the smartest one of all. That is the theory of Homer's secret genius. And with those two theories, we've only scratched the surface of what's hiding in the DNA of this show. Because now we need to talk about the woman who holds the entire Simpson family together. The woman who sacrificed everything, suppressed everything, and may have done something far darker than anyone realizes. Let's talk about Marjorie Bouvier Simpson, the blue-haired matriarch, the moral center of the family, the woman who keeps Homer fed, Bart in line, Lisa supported, and Maggie safe. Marge is, on the surface, the most stable and grounded character in The Simpsons. She is the one who worries, the one who cleans, the one who waits up at night, the one who somehow holds together a household that should have collapsed decades ago. But beneath that tower of blue hair and behind that patient smile, something darker may be lurking. And the first theory about Marge takes us back to one of the most iconic moments in Simpsons history. Season 6, Episode 25, May 21st, 1995. Who Shot Mr. Burns? Part 1. It was the biggest cliffhanger in television history for an animated series. The entire town of Springfield has been pushed to the breaking point by Charles Montgomery Burns, who has enacted a plan to block out the sun using a giant mechanical disc, plunging the town into permanent darkness so that the citizens will be entirely dependent on his nuclear power plant for energy. Everyone has a motive to kill Burns. He's stolen oil from Springfield Elementary School, crippling their budget. He's ruined Moe's bar. He's driven Grandpa Simpson out of his retirement home. He's attacked Bart's dog, Santa's little helper. He's insulted, exploited, or harmed nearly every person in town. The entire population of Springfield wants Burns dead, and then someone shoots him. Burns staggers onto the town sundial, collapses, and the episode ends. America spent an entire summer guessing who pulled the trigger. It was a cultural phenomenon. The answer came on September 17th, 1995, in the Season 7 premiere, Who Shot Mr. Burns? Part 2. The show reveals that the shooter was Maggie Simpson, the baby. Maggie, sitting in her car seat, grabbed Burns' gun when he tried to steal her lollipop. The gun went off. Burns was shot. The case was closed. But the theory argues that Maggie was a cover story. The theory argues that the real shooter was Marge, and the evidence is more compelling than you might expect. Start with motive. Burns had threatened everything Marge cares about. His sun-blocking scheme endangered her children's health and safety. His actions had crippled the school her children attend. He had repeatedly wronged her family. Marge is often portrayed as mild-mannered, but the show has demonstrated time and again that when Marge's family is threatened, she is capable of extreme action. She has engaged in cage fighting. She has gone on violent road rage rampages. She has physically confronted people twice her size. When the mama bear instinct kicks in, Marge is the most dangerous person in Springfield. Now consider the physical evidence. Burns was shot with his own gun. The weapon was found in his holster, meaning the shooter didn't bring a weapon to the confrontation. The shooter got close enough to Burns to take his gun from him, which suggests someone Burns would not immediately perceive as a threat. A woman, a neighbor, a familiar face. Burns himself, as he collapsed onto the sundial, pointed to the letters S and M. The show interpreted this as Burns trying to spell out his attacker's identity, and the official answer was Maggie Simpson, M and S. But the theory notes that Marge Simpson has the exact same initials, M and S Marge Simpson. The letters work just as well, and the theory argues they work even better. There is also a detail from the DVD commentary for the episode that fans have latched onto. The producers revealed that a contest was held inviting viewers to guess who shot Mr. Burns. Out of all the entries, only one person on the internet correctly identified the shooter before the reveal, and the producers could never track that person down. This has led to speculation that the correct answer might not have been as straightforward as the show presented, and that the production team may have changed the shooter at some point during development, with Marge being one of the original candidates. Consider Burns' behavior after the shooting. Burns has shown throughout the series a peculiar and persistent fondness for Marge. He has complimented her, shown her deference, and treated her with a warmth he extends to virtually no one else. If Burns knew Marge shot him, this behavior makes a kind of twisted sense. Burns, a man who values strength and decisive action above all else, might actually respect Marge for having the nerve to pull the trigger. And he would know that identifying Marge as the shooter would send a mother to prison and destroy a family, which even Burns might be unwilling to do when the alternative, blaming a baby who can't be prosecuted, is available. So Burns points to M and S, knowing the investigation will land on Maggie, the family member who literally cannot face legal consequences. He protects Marge by implicating her infant daughter, and the case closes with no one going to jail. It is an elegant theory. It reframes a baby's random gunshot as a mother's calculated act of protection, and it gives Marge a depth and darkness that the show rarely explores openly. And it connects to a much larger pattern in Marge's character, a pattern of suppressed rage, buried ambition, and quiet desperation that brings us to our second Marge theory. But first, if you're still with me, and I really hope you are, take a second and hit that subscribe button. We're not even close to done. We've got Bart, Lisa, Maggie, Mr. Burns, Ned Flanders, and Mo still to go, and the theories only get darker from here. Subscribe so you don't miss anything, and let's keep going. Now, the second theory about Marge isn't about what she might have done. It's about what has been done to her. And it starts with the most distinctive physical feature of any character in The Simpsons. It starts with her hair. Marge Simpson's hair is one of the most recognizable silhouettes in all of television. That towering blue beehive, standing impossibly tall, defying gravity and logic in equal measure. It has been a visual signature of the show since 1989. Kids who have never watched a single episode of The Simpsons can identify Marge by her hair alone. But has anyone ever really stopped to ask what that hair actually means? The theory goes like this. Marge's hair is not just a character design choice. It is a visual metaphor for everything she carries, everything she suppresses, and everything she has sacrificed. It is a monument to the woman she could have been and chose not to be. Let's start with what we know canonically. Marge's hair is not naturally blue. This has been confirmed across multiple episodes. Marge has been dyeing her hair since she was a teenager. Her natural hair color is gray. Not blonde, not brown, not any conventional color. Gray. She began going gray from stress when she was still in high school, and she has been covering it up ever since. Think about what that means. Marge has been constructing a false exterior, literally coloring over the physical evidence of her anxiety. Since before she was even an adult, her entire visible identity is a performance. The woman the world sees, the put-together housewife with the distinctive blue hair, is a character that Marge maintains through constant effort. Underneath that character, underneath the dye and the styling and the height, is a teenager who was so stressed that her hair turned gray before she ever left school. Now consider what Marge gave up. Before Homer, before the kids, before the house on Evergreen Terrace, Marge was an excellent student. She had genuine artistic talent. She had ambitions. She wanted to be a painter, a writer, an activist. Multiple episodes show Marge pursuing these passions with skill and enthusiasm. She paints, she writes a novel, she runs for office, she starts businesses, she trains as a police officer, she takes up bodybuilding. And every single time she is pulled back into the domestic sphere. Every ambition is abandoned, every dream is shelved, every passion gives way to the demands of maintaining a household with a reckless husband and 3 children who need constant supervision. Her hair has been shown in episodes to contain hidden objects. She pulls things out of it, she stores items in it. This is played for comedy, but the symbolism is hard to miss. Marge's hair literally carries burdens. It holds things that don't fit anywhere else. Things that have to be stored away, pushed down, hidden from view. Just like the ambitions, the frustrations, and the identities she has buried under the weight of her responsibilities. And the height of the hair is important too. It towers, it dominates the frame. It is the single most prominent feature of any Simpsons character's design. And yet it is entirely artificial, maintained through daily effort, and built on a foundation of concealment. The tallest, most visible thing about Marge is the thing that is most false, the thing that takes the most energy to sustain, the thing that hides the gray truth underneath. Marge is the load-bearing pillar of the Simpson family. Without her, everything collapses. Homer would drink himself to death. Bart would end up in juvenile detention. Lisa would spiral into depression. Maggie would have no one. The family exists because Marge holds it together, day after day, meal after meal, crisis after crisis, with no recognition, no reward, and no rest. And the pillar is cracking. The show has given us glimpses of Marge's breaking point throughout its run. She has had multiple nervous breakdowns. She has pulled out her own hair from stress. She has been hospitalized for anxiety. She has nearly left Homer more times than anyone can count. She has screamed, she has fought, she has wept alone in rooms while her family carried on without noticing. In Homer Alone, Season 3, Marge reaches her absolute limit. She is driving across a bridge and simply stops. She cannot move, she cannot think. She sits in her car on that bridge while traffic piles up behind her, frozen by the accumulated weight of everything she has been carrying. The police are called. It becomes a standoff. And eventually, Marge is taken to a rest home, a spa-like facility where she can decompress and remember that she is a person, not just a function. While she is gone, the family falls apart completely. Homer cannot feed the children properly. Bart and Lisa descend into chaos. Maggie ends up lost. The house becomes a disaster zone. It takes Marge's absence for everyone to realize what she does, how much she holds, how essential she is. But the realization is temporary. When Marge returns, the family celebrates, the house is cleaned, and within an episode or two, everything reverts to the way it was. Marge is back to cooking, cleaning, worrying, and carrying the weight. No one changes their behavior, no one lightens her load. They just welcome her back to the prison and hand her the mop. This is the cycle that defines Marge's life. She carries until she breaks. She breaks and the family panics. She recovers and returns. The family goes back to taking her for granted. And the weight accumulates again, a little heavier each time, a little harder to bear, a little closer to the breaking point that she will one day reach and not come back from. In one of the most devastating episodes of the series, And Maggie Makes 3 from Season 6, we learn about the moment Homer found out Marge was pregnant with Maggie. Homer had finally achieved his dream. He had quit the nuclear power plant and gotten a job at the bowling alley, a job he loved. For the first time in his adult life, Homer was happy at work. And then Marge told him she was pregnant. And he knew he had to go back to Burns's plant, back to the job he hated, because the bowling alley couldn't support another child. That episode ends with Homer's plaque at the plant, the one that reads, "Don't forget, you're here forever," modified with photos of Maggie so that it reads, "Do it for her." It is one of the most emotional moments in television history, but the theory asks you to see it from Marge's perspective, because Marge knows what that pregnancy cost Homer. She knows she is the reason he went back to a job that makes him miserable. She carries that guilt on top of everything else, on top of the abandoned art career, on top of the gray hair, on top of the decades of cooking and cleaning and worrying and waiting. Marge Simpson's towering blue hair is a memorial. It is a monument to every dream she buried, every ambition she abandoned, every version of herself she killed so that her family could survive. And it keeps growing year after year, season after season, because the weight of what she carries never gets lighter. It only grows taller. That is the theory of Marge's hair. And with it, we've completed our look at the Simpson parents. Both Homer and Marge, beneath the comedy, may be trapped in prisons of their own making. Homer chose ignorance to escape the pain of awareness. Marge chose sacrifice to escape the guilt of ambition. Two people who love each other, both drowning in their own ways, both hiding behind the personas they've constructed for the world. Now let's talk about their eldest son, the boy who wrote, "I will not waste chalk" on the blackboard 1,000 times and apparently learned nothing from it. Let's talk about Bart, Bartholomew Jojo Simpson, El Barto, the underachiever. The kid who put Springfield on its ear and never looked back. Bart is the original breakout character of The Simpsons. In the early 90s, he was everywhere. His face was on lunchboxes, t-shirts, posters, and bumper stickers. Schools banned Simpsons merchandise because of him. Parents worried he was a bad influence. He was the most famous 10-year-old in America. And for 35 years, the show has presented Bart as a lovable troublemaker, a bad student, a natural rebel. A kid who would rather pull pranks than study, who would rather skateboard than sit in class, who would rather be cool than be smart. But the theory says that Bart Simpson is not stupid. The theory says Bart might be the most intelligent Simpson of them all. And the theory says his underachievement is not laziness or inability. It is a choice, a calculated, deliberate, self-protective choice made by a child who watched what intelligence did to his sister and decided he wanted no part of it. Let's look at the evidence. Start with languages. In Season 1, Episode 11, The Creeps of Wrath, Bart is sent to France as an exchange student. He doesn't speak a word of French when he arrives. He is exploited by two corrupt vineyard owners who use him as a slave. But by the end of the episode, Bart has become fluent in French. Not conversational, fluent. He speaks it well enough to explain his situation to a French police officer and secure his rescue. He acquired a foreign language through immersion in a matter of weeks, which is something that most adults struggle to do in years of formal study. And it is not just French. Throughout the series, Bart has demonstrated an ability to pick up languages and accents with remarkable speed. He mimics voices, dialects, and speech patterns with precision. He uses slang from multiple cultural contexts effortlessly. His linguistic aptitude is, by any objective measure, extraordinary. Now consider his pranks. Bart's pranks are not simple acts of mischief. They are elaborate, multi-stage operations that require planning, timing, psychological manipulation, and the ability to predict how other people will react. His ongoing war with Principal Skinner involves strategic thinking worthy of a military campaign. His schemes against Sideshow Bob, a highly intelligent criminal mastermind, demonstrate an ability to outthink and outmaneuver someone who is supposed to be far smarter than him. Bart doesn't just prank people, he engineers situations, he constructs narratives, he manipulates outcomes. These are the skills of a strategist, not a fool. Look at the future episodes. The Simpsons has shown us Bart's future many times, and the results are wildly inconsistent. In some timelines, Bart is a failure, a deadbeat, a washed-up nothing. But in others, he is a Supreme Court justice. In one, he is credited as the creator of The Simpsons itself. In another, he is a successful demolition expert. The fact that Bart's future is so variable suggests that his potential is enormous. He is not locked into failure, he is choosing it. And the futures where he succeeds reveal what he could become if he ever stopped choosing it. The theory argues that Bart made his decision early. He watched Lisa become the smart one. He watched what that label did to her. He watched her cry in her room because nobody understood her. He watched her fight battles that exhausted her and changed nothing. He watched her get praised by teachers and ignored by classmates. He watched her win awards that made no one's life better and collect accolades that brought no joy. He watched intelligence turn his sister into the loneliest kid in Springfield. And Bart, who understood more than anyone gave him credit for, decided that he would rather be loved for being funny than respected for being smart. He would rather be Bart, the troublemaker, surrounded by friends and admirers and fellow rebels, than Bart the genius, alone in a room with a book and a trophy no one cares about. There's also an often overlooked detail about Bart's artistic abilities. Throughout the series, Bart has shown himself to be a remarkably talented graffiti artist. His alter ego, El Barto, has left tags across Springfield that demonstrate genuine artistic skill, composition, and creativity. He doesn't just scrawl his name on walls, he creates images, messages, and visual statements that require a level of creative intelligence that his report cards never reflect. Art, like language, is a domain where intelligence expresses itself outside the boundaries of traditional academic measurement. And Bart excels at it while pretending he doesn't care about anything. Consider also his relationship with Sideshow Bob. Bob is a Yale-educated intellectual who has attempted to murder Bart on multiple occasions. Bob is smarter than almost every adult in Springfield. He speaks multiple languages, quotes Shakespeare from memory, and devises plans of elaborate sophistication. And yet Bart has defeated him every single time. Not through luck, not through dumb chance, through cleverness, resourcefulness, and an ability to think under pressure that would be remarkable in an adult and is virtually unheard of in a child. Bart consistently outsmarts one of the smartest characters in the show, and he does it while maintaining the fiction that he's just a dumb kid who got lucky. His relationship with Homer reinforces this. Bart mirrors Homer in almost every significant way. Homer chose the crayon. Bart chose the skateboard. Homer chose donuts over awareness. Bart chose pranks over performance. Father and son, both secretly capable of far more than they show, both deliberately performing a version of themselves that the world finds acceptable and entertaining rather than threatening or sad. Bart is not failing. Bart is refusing. He is refusing to play a game that he watched destroy his sister. He is refusing to be smart in a world that punishes the smart. He is refusing to become Lisa. And whether that refusal is cowardice or wisdom depends entirely on how you look at it. That is the theory of Bart's secret intelligence, and it reframes every bad grade, every detention, every "I didn't do it," into something far more complex and far more poignant than a simple kid acting out. Bart knows exactly what he's doing. He always has. But there is a second theory about Bart that is more specific, more focused, and honestly, more heartbreaking than the first. It involves a character we haven't talked about yet, and a ritual that has been happening since the very first season of the show. It involves the prank calls, the calls Bart makes to Moe's Tavern. And the theory says that Moe, the bartender on the other end of those calls, has known it was Bart all along. If you want to hear why, keep listening, and if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that now. We are about to go to some places that this show never intended anyone to go, and we're just getting started. Bart Simpson has been prank calling Moe's Tavern since the very first season of The Simpsons. It is one of the show's oldest and most beloved running gags. The setup is always the same. Bart dials a number, Moe answers. Bart asks for someone with a ridiculous fake name. I'm looking for a huge ass. Is there a Jacques Strap here? I need to speak with Amanda Hugginkiss. And Mo, every single time, falls for it. He shouts the fake name across the bar, realizes he's been had, and screams threats into the phone. The bar erupts. Bart hangs up laughing. The cycle resets. It's comedy. Pure, classic, timeless comedy. A kid outsmarting an adult. The little guy getting one over on the big guy. It has been happening for decades, and the show treats it as a simple running gag. But the theory, originally proposed by a Reddit user named Senor Schnorf, says there's something else going on beneath the surface. The theory says Mo knows. The theory says Mo has always known it's Bart calling. And the theory says he lets it happen on purpose. The evidence comes from an episode in which Homer is fired from the power plant and spends his days drinking at Moe's. Marge, worried about Homer, sends a Bart to the bar to bring his father home. Bart walks through the door of Moe's tavern, and the moment he opens his mouth to speak, Mo recognizes him immediately. Not just recognizes him. Mo is delighted to see him. He greets Bart warmly, knows exactly who he is, and is genuinely happy that Bart has come into his bar. Now think about what that means. If Mo can recognize Bart's speaking voice instantly when Bart walks through the door, then Mo can absolutely recognize Bart's speaking voice on the telephone. Bart doesn't disguise his voice during the prank calls. He doesn't use a voice changer. He doesn't adopt a different accent. He calls Moe's tavern, speaks in his normal 10-year-old voice, and asks for someone with a joke name. And Mo, who knows that voice, who has heard that voice for years, pretends not to recognize it. Why? Why would Mo play along? The theory argues it comes down to loneliness. Mo Scheisslak is the loneliest character in The Simpsons. He has attempted suicide multiple times throughout the series. He has no romantic partner. He has no real friends. He has customers, sure, but customers leave at the end of the night. The bar empties and Mo is left alone, cleaning glasses in silence, waiting for the next day to bring the same people with the same problems to the same bar stools. Mo sees something of himself in Bart, a kid who acts out because he doesn't know how else to get attention, a kid whose father's sitting on a bar stool instead of being at home, a kid who reaches out in the only way he knows how, through mischief, through disruption, through jokes. The prank calls are not Bart tormenting Mo. They are Bart reaching out to someone, and Mo, who understands what it feels like to be invisible, lets himself be reached. The anger is part of the ritual. Mo's screaming threats into the phone, his exaggerated outrage, it is performance. It is Mo playing his role in a game that gives both of them something they need. Bart gets attention and the thrill of mischief. Mo gets the knowledge that someone, even a 10-year-old prankster, thinks about him enough to call. In a life defined by isolation and despair, Mo will take any connection he can get, even a fake one, even a cruel one, because the alternative is silence. And so the prank calls continue, year after year, season after season. A boy calls a bar. A man pretends not to know who's calling. And somewhere in that strange, unspoken ritual, two of the loneliest people in Springfield keep each other company in the only way they know how. That is the theory of Bart's prank calls. And it transforms a simple comedy gag into something profoundly sad. A child reaching out. A man allowing himself to be reached, neither of them ever acknowledging what the calls really mean. With Bart covered, we now move to the character who might be the most tragic figure in all of Springfield. The character whose intelligence should have been her greatest asset but became her heaviest chain. The character who sees everything, understands everything, and can change nothing. Let's talk about Lisa. Lisa Marie Simpson, 8 years old, saxophonist, Buddhist, vegetarian, environmentalist, feminist, genius. Lisa is the intellectual and moral compass of The Simpsons. She is the character who asks the hard questions, who challenges the status quo, who refuses to accept the easy answer when the truth is more complicated. She is brilliant, passionate, driven, and perpetually 8 years old. And that last part is the key to everything. The first theory about Lisa is that her intelligence is not a gift. It is a prison. And the walls of that prison are made of awareness. Lisa Simpson is the most self-aware character in The Simpsons. She questions everything. She sees through every lie, every deception, every comfortable fiction that the other characters use to get through their days. She knows that the town is corrupt. She knows that the education system is failing. She knows that the environment is being destroyed. She knows that the political system is broken. She knows all of this, and she is 8 years old, and there is absolutely nothing she can do about any of it. This is the central tragedy of Lisa's character. She has the awareness of an adult trapped in the body of a child, living in a world that will not change no matter how hard she pushes. She has won science fairs. She has exposed corruption. She has championed environmental causes. She has written letters, organized protests, given speeches, and confronted authority figures. And nothing has permanently improved. Springfield resets, the corruption returns, the pollution continues, the ignorance persists. Everything Lisa fights for evaporates by the next episode, and she has to start all over again with the same broken town and the same indifferent population. Connect this to the coma theory we discussed earlier, or even just to the show's inherent structure, and Lisa's situation becomes nightmarish. She may be the one character who senses that reality is cyclical. She may be the one person in Springfield who feels the loops, who notices that nothing ever truly changes, who intuits that the world she lives in is somehow artificial or frozen. She fights anyway. She pushes anyway, she tries anyway, and she always fails. Not because she's wrong, but because the world she lives in is not designed to accommodate change. Future episodes have shown Lisa as President of the United States. They have shown her as successful, accomplished, powerful. But in the present, she is forever stuck at age 8. She can see the future she deserves but cannot reach it. She is Sisyphus with a saxophone, pushing the boulder up the hill, watching it roll back down, and starting the climb again the next morning. Her depression is not a character quirk. It is not a personality flaw. It is the logical, rational, inevitable response of a conscious mind trapped in a world that refuses to progress. Lisa Simpson is sad because she is right. She is isolated because she sees clearly. She is frustrated because awareness without agency is torture, and the show knows this. Let me walk you through a few specific episodes that illustrate just how deeply Lisa's intelligence has become intertwined with her suffering, because the pattern is relentless once you start tracking it. In Moaning Lisa, the 5th episode of the very first season, Lisa falls into a depression that nobody around her can understand. She is 8 years old and she is sad, not about anything specific, not about a bad grade or a lost toy, but about the world, about existence itself, about the weight of being conscious in a place that rewards obliviousness. Marge takes Lisa to school and gives her advice that the show later walks back, but that is devastating in the moment. Marge tells Lisa to smile, to push through it, to put on a happy face and pretend everything is fine because that is what the world expects from her. And Lisa does it. She walks into school with a fake smile plastered across her face, and the other kids love her for it. They respond to the performance, not to the person. They like the Lisa who pretends to be happy. The real Lisa, the sad Lisa, the Lisa who feels too much and sees too clearly, is not welcome. The message is clear even to an 8-year-old. The world does not want your truth. The world wants your compliance. Marge, to her credit, reverses course by the end of the episode and tells Lisa to be herself, to express what she feels, to never apologize for her emotional truth. But the damage of that early lesson lingers across the entire series. Lisa has learned in the first season that intelligence and emotional honesty are liabilities in a world that prefers comforting lies. She spends the rest of the show fighting against that lesson, insisting on her truth, demanding to be heard, and paying the price every single time. In Lisa's Substitute, Season 2, Episode 19, Lisa meets Mr. Bergstrom, a substitute teacher voiced by Dustin Hoffman under a pseudonym. Bergstrom is the first adult Lisa has encountered who sees her. Not her potential, not her grades, not her precociousness, her. He understands her loneliness. He challenges her mind. He treats her like a person, not a prodigy. And for a few brief episodes worth of screen time, Lisa has a mentor, a kindred spirit, someone who makes the world feel less hostile and less empty. Then Bergstrom leaves. He moves on to another school, another town, another set of students who need him. And Lisa is devastated. She runs after his bus and catches him just before he departs. He gives her a note. She opens it later, alone. The note reads, "You are Lisa Simpson." That's all. 3 words that are supposed to be enough. 3 words that are supposed to sustain her. And they do. Lisa carries that note like a talisman for the rest of the series. She pulls it out in moments of doubt. She reads it when she needs to remember who she is. But the theory sees something darker in that note. Bergstrom didn't say, "You are special," or "You will be great," or "The world will recognize you." He said, "You are Lisa Simpson." And what is Lisa Simpson? An 8-year-old genius trapped in a town that doesn't want her. A child carrying adult burdens with no support system and no end in sight. The note doesn't promise things will get better. It just tells her to accept who she is, even if who she is means being lonely forever. In Summer of 4 Feet 2, Season 7, Episode 25, Lisa goes on vacation with the family and decides to reinvent herself. She is so desperate for friendship, so exhausted by being the smart kid who nobody likes, that she creates a completely new persona. She hides her intelligence. She pretends to be cool. She talks differently, dresses differently, acts differently, and it works. She makes friends, real friends, kids who like her, who want to hang out with her, who invite her to things. But she had to kill herself to do it. She had to destroy every authentic thing about herself to be accepted. She had to become the opposite of Lisa Simpson in order to have what every 8-year-old deserves: basic human connection and friendship. And when the truth comes out, when her friends discover that she's actually a straight A student who plays saxophone and reads the encyclopedia for fun, the friendships are tested, some survive, some don't. But the lesson is carved into Lisa's experience forever. Being yourself costs you friends, being someone else earns them. That is the cycle Lisa lives in. Be yourself and be alone. Be someone else and be loved. Choose intelligence and choose isolation. Choose ignorance and choose acceptance. It is the same choice Homer made with the crayon, but Lisa refuses to make it. She will not dumb herself down. She will not perform stupidity. She will not betray her mind to earn the approval of people who are threatened by it. And the cost of that refusal, episode after episode, season after season, is a loneliness that defines her existence. Every other Simpson found a way to cope. Homer chose ignorance. Marge chose sacrifice. Bart chose rebellion. Maggie chose silence. But Lisa chose awareness. She refused to look away. She refused to dull herself. And the price of that refusal is a loneliness so profound that it has defined her character for over 3 decades. That is the theory of Lisa's intelligence as a curse. And it leads directly into a darker question, a question about what happens when a mind that brilliant, a mind that frustrated, a mind that aware, finally breaks. Because the second theory about Lisa is that she won't just be frustrated forever. The second theory is that Lisa Simpson is on the path to becoming a villain. Now, before you dismiss this, consider the evidence. Multiple Treehouse of Horror segments and future episodes have depicted Lisa as morally compromised, authoritarian, or outright dangerous. In one Halloween segment, Lisa develops a murderous alternate personality. In future timelines, her presidency has been depicted with authoritarian overtones, where she uses her intelligence and conviction to impose her will on a population that didn't ask for it. These are non-canon stories, yes, but the writers chose to imagine Lisa this way for a reason. They see the potential in her character to go dark, and the pattern is there in the regular episodes too. Lisa consistently believes she is morally superior to the people around her, and honestly, she usually is. But belief in one's own moral superiority, especially when combined with frustration at the world's refusal to improve, is a dangerous foundation. When Lisa is given power, she tends to become controlling. When she adopts a cause, she becomes rigid and dismissive of anyone who disagrees. When she is put in charge, she makes decisions for other people because she genuinely believes she knows better than they do. She forced the school to adopt vegetarian lunches. She has publicly shamed people for their lifestyle choices. She has manipulated situations to produce the outcome she deemed correct, regardless of whether anyone else agreed. These are small things now, manageable things. The impulsive moral certainties of an 8-year-old who hasn't learned the difference between conviction and tyranny. But Lisa won't be 8 forever, not in theory, not in the future episodes the show has explored. And the trajectory the writers have hinted at suggests that grown-up Lisa, with real power and real influence, might become the very thing she's been fighting against. Now carry the frustration forward. Carry it through decades of episodes, decades of fighting and losing, decades of knowing the answer and being ignored, decades of watching her father choose ignorance, her brother choose rebellion, her mother choose sacrifice, and her baby sister choose silence, while Lisa alone stands with her eyes open, refusing to blink, refusing to look away, refusing to make it easier on herself. At what point does that frustration harden into something more dangerous? At what point does a person who has been right about everything and rewarded for nothing decide that the world's opinion no longer matters? At what point does the desire to help become the compulsion to control? Consider the villains of The Simpsons. Mr. Burns started as a young man with ambitions. He wanted to build something. He wanted to succeed. And over decades of encountering a world that was messy and uncooperative and full of people who didn't share his vision, he became a monster. Sideshow Bob started as an intellectual. He was cultured, educated, sophisticated. And his frustration with a world that celebrated ignorance over intelligence, that elevated Krusty the Clown while ignoring his genius, curdled into murderous rage. Burns and Bob followed the same path. Brilliance, frustration, bitterness, villainy. And Lisa is walking that same road. She has the brilliance. She has the frustration. The bitterness is growing season by season. The only question is whether she will reach the end of the path or whether something will intervene to pull her off it. The theory doesn't argue that Lisa is evil. It argues that she is vulnerable to the same corruption that intelligence breeds in everyone who has it and can't use it effectively. The world won't listen to Lisa. The world won't change for Lisa, and at some point, a mind that sharp, pushed that hard for that long, stops asking the world to change and starts trying to force it. There is a telling moment in Lisa Goes Gaga, where Lady Gaga visits Springfield and tries to cheer Lisa up. Lisa's response is telling. She doesn't want to be cheered up. She doesn't want platitudes. She wants the world to change. And the distinction matters enormously. A person who wants to feel better can be helped. A person who wants the world to conform to their vision of justice cannot be satisfied until they have the power to enforce that vision. Lisa doesn't want therapy. She wants authority. She wants the ability to make the changes that no one will make voluntarily. And consider her reaction when she discovers that Springfield was founded by a pirate, or when she learns the truth about Jebediah Springfield's history. Lisa doesn't just feel disillusioned, she feels betrayed, and her response to betrayal is not sadness or resignation. It is rage, controlled, articulate, focused rage. She channels it into campaigns and protests now while she's 8. But what happens when she has real resources at her disposal? What happens when she can do more than write letters and give speeches? The pattern is unmistakable. Every villain in The Simpsons started out wanting to make the world better. Burns wanted to build an empire. Bob wanted to elevate culture. Even Homer, in the episodes where he gains power, immediately abuses it. The corruption isn't the starting point. The corruption is the destination. And Lisa, for all her goodness, is walking the same road. She just hasn't reached the end yet. President Lisa Simpson might not be the hero the future episodes suggest. She might be the cautionary tale. A brilliant child who grew up into a brilliant tyrant, who used her intelligence not to liberate but to control, because decades of being ignored convinced her that people are too stupid to know what's good for them and too stubborn to be persuaded. Lisa, the villain. It sounds wrong, it feels wrong. But when you look at the evidence, when you trace the trajectory, when you follow the pattern that Burns and Bob established, it makes a terrible kind of sense. That is the theory of Lisa Simpson's dark future. And it sits alongside the theory of her cursed intelligence to paint a portrait of a character who is simultaneously the best person in Springfield and the one most likely to become its worst. We have now covered 4 Simpsons: Homer, the dreamer trapped in a coma, the secret genius who chose ignorance; Marge, the possible shooter of Mr. Burns, the woman whose hair is a monument to buried dreams; Bart, the strategic mastermind pretending to be a fool, the boy whose prank calls are really a lifeline; and Lisa, the cursed intellect, the future villain, the 8-year-old Sisyphus who can't stop pushing the boulder. But there is one more Simpson to cover. The smallest one, the quietest one, the one who has barely spoken a word in 35 years but may be the most dangerous member of the family. Before we get to Maggie, take a breath, get comfortable again, adjust the volume if you need to, and if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a good time. We are halfway through this journey and the best is still ahead. Subscribe, settle in, and let's talk about the baby with the gun. Margaret Evelyn Lenny Simpson, Maggie, the baby, the youngest member of the Simpson family, the one who communicates almost entirely through sucking on a pacifier, the one who barely speaks, rarely walks, and is almost always seen in her blue onesie, nestled in someone's arms or propped in her crib, and the one who shot the most powerful man in Springfield. Whether you believe Marge pulled the trigger or whether you accept the show's canonical answer, the fact remains that Maggie Simpson was officially identified as the person who shot Charles Montgomery Burns, a baby. An infant barely old enough to have coordinated motor skills, let alone the ability to fire a handgun with any kind of accuracy. And the show played this for dark comedy, for shock value, for the kind of absurdist twist that The Simpsons has always excelled at. But the theory says it was not absurd at all. The theory says the shooting of Mr. Burns was not a fluke, not a baby randomly discharging a weapon, but an expression of something far more unsettling. The theory says that Maggie Simpson is the most dangerous member of the Simpson family. And the evidence, when you start looking for it, is everywhere. Begin with the shooting itself and set aside the question of whether Marge was involved. Even in the show's version of events, Maggie handled a firearm. She picked it up. She pointed it. The gun discharged in Burns' direction. For a baby whose primary activities include falling over, gurgling, and sucking on a pacifier, this is remarkable. And it is far from the only time Maggie has demonstrated capabilities that are wildly beyond her developmental stage. Throughout the run of the series, across hundreds of episodes, Maggie has done things that no baby should be able to do. She has saved Homer's life on multiple occasions. In one episode, she fights off an entire group of baby adversaries at a daycare. She has driven a car. She has led babies in coordinated group actions. She has demonstrated marksmanship on more than one occasion. She has shown tactical awareness, the ability to read situations, evaluate threats, and respond with decisive action. She communicates nonverbally in ways that suggest she understands far more than anyone around her realizes. In the short film The Longest Daycare, Simpsons, which was produced for theatrical release and even received an Academy Award nomination, Maggie is left at the Ayn Rand School for Tots Daycare Center and must navigate a hostile environment on her own. She demonstrates planning, empathy, courage, and tactical thinking that would be impressive for an adult and are flatly impossible for an infant. She saves a caterpillar from being killed by baby Gerald, her arch nemesis, in a sequence that requires timing, awareness, and the ability to form and execute a multi-step plan. This is not a baby. This is a person wearing the body of a baby, operating within the constraints of an infant's physical capabilities, but clearly possessing a mind that transcends them. The theory argues that Maggie is the Simpson with the most raw potential and the fewest moral constraints. She has not been socialized yet. She has not been taught the rules of polite behavior. She has not internalized the social contracts that prevent people from acting on their impulses. Homer suppresses his intelligence by choice. Bart suppresses his intelligence as a performance. Lisa channels her intelligence through socially acceptable outlets like science fairs and protests. But Maggie has no filter. She has no restraint. She is pure instinct, pure capability, unbounded by any of the limitations that civilization imposes on the people around her. And that makes her terrifying, because if the theory that all Simpsons are geniuses is true, then Maggie might be the most brilliant of them all. She might have a mind sharper than Lisa's, more cunning than Bart's, more adaptable than Homer's. But unlike any of them, she has not yet learned to restrain herself. She has not yet been taught that violence is wrong, that actions have consequences, that you can't just pick up a gun and point it at the man who tried to steal your lollipop. Her silence is not developmental delay, it is observation. Maggie watches everything. She sees the dysfunction in her family, the chaos in her town, the incompetence of the adults around her. She processes it all behind those wide, unblinking eyes, and she acts when she determines action is necessary. Not with words, not with complaints, not with protests or pranks or philosophical arguments, with action. Direct, efficient, and when the situation demands it, violent. And it raises a question that the show has never answered and probably never will. If Maggie is this capable now, what would she become if she were allowed to grow? What happens when a mind that sharp, a mind unconstrained by the social pressures that have blunted Homer, broken Lisa, and redirected Bart, reaches adulthood? What would Maggie Simpson look like at 20, at 30, at 40? There is also the matter of Maggie's enemies. She has a genuine arch-nemesis in baby Gerald, the one eyebrowed baby who serves as her rival throughout the series. Their conflict is played for comedy, but the intensity of their rivalry suggests something deeper. Maggie does not just dislike Gerald, she opposes him. She strategizes against him. She treats their confrontations with a seriousness that is wildly disproportionate to what a baby should be capable of understanding. If Maggie can maintain a sustained rivalry, can identify a threat, can develop and execute countermeasures against that threat, then she is operating at a cognitive level that defies everything we know about infant development. And then there is the Bobo incident. In the episode Rosebud, Burns' childhood teddy bear, Bobo, ends up in Maggie's possession. Burns, the most powerful man in Springfield, a man with effectively unlimited resources, a man who has bent entire communities to his will, cannot get the bear away from Maggie. He tries bribery, he tries manipulation, he tries force. Nothing works. A baby defeats the town's most powerful citizen through sheer willpower and determination. This is not a random comedy beat. This is a demonstration of force. Burns, the man we have theorized might be immortal, the man who may not even be human, meets his match in an infant. Whatever Maggie is, whatever force drives her, it is powerful enough to resist the oldest and most formidable entity in Springfield. And she does it without speaking a word. The future episodes offer hints. In some timelines, Maggie is a rock star. In others, she is pregnant. In one, she apparently has a beautiful singing voice, but the audience never hears it because the show cuts away before she can perform. Even in the future, the show denies us Maggie's voice. Even grown up, she remains the character whose potential is never fully realized on screen. Maggie Simpson is a loaded weapon that the family carries with them everywhere, wrapped in a onesie and silenced by a pacifier. They have no idea what she is capable of. They have no idea what she's thinking, and by the time they figure it out, she will have already acted. That is the theory of Maggie as the most dangerous Simpson, and it connects to the second theory about Maggie, which is perhaps the most meta of all the theories we've discussed tonight. The theory is that Maggie will never speak, not because she can't, but because speaking would end the show. This one requires a slightly different frame of reference. It's less about what happens within the world of The Simpsons and more about what Maggie represents structurally, narratively, and emotionally in the architecture of the show itself. Maggie's first word was daddy. Elizabeth Taylor, one of the most famous actresses in the history of cinema, was brought in to provide the voice for that single word. It happens in the season 4 episode Lisa's First Word, and the moment is played beautifully. Homer has been worried that Maggie will never speak, and in the final scene, after he puts her to bed and leaves the room, Maggie removes her pacifier and says it. Daddy. And no one hears it. Homer's already gone. The family never learns that Maggie spoke. The moment exists only for the audience, and it is heartbreaking precisely because of that isolation. Maggie's first word, and it was spoken to an empty room. The theory argues that this is not just a one-time gag. It is the defining metaphor of Maggie's existence and the key to understanding her role in the show. Maggie represents potential, pure, limitless, unrealized potential. She is the blank slate, the unwritten page, the character whose future contains everything because nothing has been decided yet. Homer's path is set. He will always be the safety inspector who eats too many donuts. Marge's path is set. She will always be the patient wife holding the family together. Bart will always be the troublemaker. Lisa will always be the overachiever. Their identities are fixed. Their arcs are complete. They are who they are. And while the details may change from episode to episode, the fundamental characters remain the same. Maggie is different. Maggie is the one character whose identity is still forming. She could become anything: a genius, a villain, a hero, a leader, a mother, a monster. The show has hinted at dozens of possible futures for Maggie, and none of them are definitive because Maggie hasn't spoken yet. She hasn't declared herself. She hasn't committed to a path. She remains potential, pure and infinite, suspended in the amber of permanent infancy. And the show needs her to stay that way. The moment Maggie grows up, the moment she starts talking, the moment she becomes a defined character with opinions and goals, and a personality that can be described and predicted, she stops being potential and starts being just another person. The magic breaks, the mystery ends. The show loses one of its last remaining sources of genuine wonder. Think about, and Maggie makes 3, the episode we discussed during the Marge section. That episode ends with Homer's plaque reading, "Do it for her." Maggie is Homer's reason to keep going. She is the motivation behind his return to the power plant. The justification for his continued sacrifice. She is the answer to the question of why Homer does what he does, and that answer only works as long as Maggie remains the baby. The moment she grows up, the moment she becomes a person who can take care of herself, the plaque stops making sense. The sacrifice loses its purpose. The loop that keeps Homer at the plant, that keeps the family in Springfield, that keeps the show itself running, breaks apart. Maggie's silence preserves the family's status quo. Her silence keeps Homer motivated. Her silence keeps Marge needed. Her silence keeps The Simpsons being The Simpsons. And that stasis, the show's refusal to let time pass, to let characters change, to let stories end, is itself a kind of prison, a beautiful, entertaining, beloved prison. But a prison nonetheless. Springfield is frozen. Its residents are frozen. And Maggie, the baby who never grows up, is the most honest expression of that frozen reality. She is the character who makes the prison visible by being the one most obviously trapped inside it. Homer is frozen in a coma. Marge is frozen in sacrifice. Bart is frozen in performance. Lisa is frozen in frustration. Burns is frozen in immortality. Ned is frozen in faith. Moe is frozen in purgatory. And Maggie is frozen in infancy. Every character in The Simpsons is trapped in some version of permanence, and the theories we've explored tonight are, at their core, attempts to understand why. Maggie Simpson is the most powerful character in The Simpsons because she is the only one who still contains infinite possibility. And infinite possibility requires silence. That is the theory of Maggie's silence. And with it, we have completed the Simpson family: Homer, Marge, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie. 10 theories, each one darker than the last, each one grounded in real episodes and real evidence from a show that has given us more canonical material than almost any other series in history. But we are not done, because Springfield is not just the Simpson family. Springfield is a town full of characters, each with their own secrets, their own darkness, their own theories waiting to be explored. And we are going to start with the man who sits at the top, the man whose shadow falls across every life in Springfield. The oldest, richest, most powerful, and possibly most inhuman character in the show. Let's talk about Mr. Burns, Charles Montgomery Plantagenet Schicklgruber Burns, the owner and operator of the Springfield nuclear power plant, the richest man in Springfield, the man who blocked out the sun, released the hounds, made deals with the devil, and has been terrorizing this town since long before anyone currently alive in it was born. And the first theory about Burns is not about what he has done to Springfield. It is about what he has done to Homer. We established earlier that Homer Simpson is the safety inspector at the Springfield nuclear power plant. This is his primary job, his main source of income, and the reason his family can afford to live in their house on Evergreen Terrace. Homer has held this position for the majority of the series, and he is catastrophically bad at it. This is not a matter of interpretation. It is canonical fact, stated directly in one of the show's most celebrated episodes. Season 8, Episode 23, Homer's Enemy. The episode that introduced Frank Grimes. Frank Grimes is a new employee at the power plant. He is everything Homer is not. He is hardworking, conscientious, qualified, and competent. He earned his position through years of education and effort. He takes his job seriously. He cares about safety. And he is absolutely horrified when he discovers who the safety inspector is. Grimes observes that Homer sleeps on the job. Homer eats donuts instead of monitoring equipment. Homer has caused accidents. Homer doesn't understand basic safety protocols. Grimes discovers that accidents at the plant have literally doubled since Homer was appointed safety inspector. The man whose job it is to make the plant safe has made it the most dangerous nuclear facility in the country. And Grimes cannot understand why Homer still has a job. The brilliance of the Frank Grimes episode is that it introduces a normal person into the Simpsons universe and lets them react the way any normal person would react. Grimes is the audience surrogate. He sees what we see but refuses to accept it. He watches Homer sleep at his desk and screams, "How is this man employed?" He watches Homer win a children's science contest and nearly has a breakdown. He watches the safety inspector, the man responsible for preventing nuclear disasters, eat donuts off his console while radiation warnings flash red around him. And Grimes is driven mad by it, literally mad. The episode ends with Grimes snapping completely, mockingly imitating Homer's behavior by grabbing exposed electrical wires with his bare hands, shouting, "Look at me, I'm Homer Simpson," before being electrocuted to death. At his funeral, Homer falls asleep and mumbles about changing the channel, and the mourners laugh. The man who tried to hold Homer accountable is dead. The man who tried to tell the truth about the danger Homer represents is dead, and Homer sleeps through his funeral. The theory, originally proposed by a Reddit user called All of It Is One, argues that Burns keeps Homer in the safety inspector position on purpose. not despite Homer's incompetence, but because of it. Think about it from Burns' perspective. Burns runs a nuclear power plant, a facility that, if operated according to proper safety codes, would require enormous investment in equipment upgrades, maintenance, safety training, environmental compliance, and regulatory oversight. A competent safety inspector would identify every violation, document every deficiency, and force Burns to spend millions bringing the plant up to code. Homer does none of this. Homer doesn't notice violations because he doesn't understand them. He doesn't document deficiencies because he's asleep. He doesn't push for compliance because he has no idea what compliance means. Homer's incompetence is not a bug. It is a feature. He is the perfect safety inspector for a man who has no interest in safety. He provides the appearance of regulatory compliance without any of the actual costs, and Burns has actively protected this arrangement. In the episode Homer Goes to College, Burns personally helps Homer enroll at Springfield University to ensure he maintains the educational qualifications required for his position. Burns doesn't do this because he cares about Homer's personal development. He does it because if Homer loses his qualification, Burns would have to hire someone competent, and someone competent would cost him a fortune. There's also the episode where German investors buy the power plant and immediately fire Homer. When they assess the plant without Homer's cheerful incompetence providing cover, they discover the staggering true cost of the repairs and upgrades that have been neglected. The plant is a disaster. Bringing it up to code would be ruinously expensive. The Germans give up. Burns buys the plant back at a discount and immediately rehires Homer. Burns is not keeping Homer out of kindness. He's not keeping Homer out of ignorance. He is keeping Homer because Homer is the cheapest safety inspector money can buy. Homer keeps the regulators satisfied with a name on a form, while Burns continues to operate a facility that would be shut down in a week under competent oversight. And here's the darkest part of the theory. Burns never remembers Homer's name. Despite the fact that Homer has worked for him for decades, despite the fact that they have interacted hundreds of times, Burns consistently fails to recognize Homer or remember who he is. The show plays this as a gag. Burns is old, Burns is detached, Burns doesn't care about individual employees. But the theory argues this is deliberate psychological warfare. By refusing to acknowledge Homer as a person, by treating him as invisible and forgettable, Burns keeps Homer in a permanent state of insecurity. Homer's grateful just to have a job. He doesn't question his role. He doesn't challenge his boss. He doesn't investigate the safety violations that a more confident employee might notice. Burns' selective amnesia about Homer's name is not a memory problem. It is a management technique, a way to keep the most useful employee in the building too insecure to ever realize his own value. That is the theory of why Burns keeps Homer employed, and it transforms the relationship between the two characters from a comedy of errors into something cold, calculated, and quietly monstrous. Burns is not oblivious to Homer. Burns understands Homer perfectly. He understands Homer better than Homer understands himself, and he uses that understanding to maintain a system that saves him millions while putting every life in Springfield at risk. But there is a second theory about Burns that goes even further, a theory that suggests the reason Burns has survived so long, endured so much, and accumulated so much power is that Charles Montgomery Burns is not, in any conventional sense, a human being. How old is Mr. Burns? The show has given us conflicting answers over the years, but certain details are consistent. Burns has made references to events that happened in the 1800s as though he personally witnessed them. His birthplace, on one occasion, has been listed as Pangaea, the supercontinent that existed millions of years ago. He has survived injuries, diseases, and physical trauma that would have killed any ordinary human being many times over. And then there is the Three Stooges syndrome. In one of the show's most memorable medical scenes, Burns visits the doctor for a checkup. The doctor runs tests and then sits Burns down to deliver the results. The news, the doctor explains, is not good. Burns has every disease known to medical science. Every single one. They are all present in his body simultaneously. But here's the twist, because every disease is present at once, they are all competing for space, all blocking each other, all canceling each other out. None of them can get through the door because they are all trying to get through at the same time. The doctor illustrates this with 3 balls trying to fit through a doorway simultaneously and getting stuck. Burns is medically impossible. He should be dead 1,000 times over. The diseases alone should have killed him. But beyond the diseases, Burns has been shot by a baby, attacked by dogs, caught in explosions, exposed to radiation, fallen from heights, and endured conditions that would destroy any normal human body. And every time he returns, frail, withered, barely able to stand, but alive, always alive. The theory argues that Burns is not a normal human being. He may not be human at all. He is something else, something ancient, something resilient, something that has been walking the earth for far longer than any human lifespan allows. Consider his family history. Burns has mentioned 10 siblings over the course of the series, and all of them died in bizarre, almost supernaturally specific ways. One was trampled by a horse, one was impaled on the Chrysler Building, one died of spontaneous combustion, one was poisoned by tainted potatoes. The methods of death are so varied, so strange, and so dramatically specific that they feel less like natural mortality and more like the universe systematically eliminating Burns' family line. Every sibling died, only Burns survived, as if whatever Burns is, whatever force keeps him animated, was not shared by his siblings. They were mortal, he is not. Then there is his relationship with the devil. In one episode, Burns is in his office and looks out the window. He sees a figure approaching and asks Smithers who it is. "Who's that goat-legged fellow?" Burns asks. "I like the cut of his jib." Smithers responds, "That's the Prince of Darkness, sir. He's your 11 o'clock. Burns has a scheduled meeting with the devil. This is played as a quick joke, a throwaway gag. But the theory takes it seriously. Burns has an appointment with Satan the way other people have appointments with their accountant. This is not alarming to him. This is routine. This is the relationship of a being who has been doing business with the darkness for a very long time. And consider the medical form that lists Burns' parents' cause of death. The form simply reads, "Got in my way? Not a disease, not an accident, not old age, got in my way." As though Burns' parents did not die of natural causes, but were removed by Burns himself when they became obstacles. The theory doesn't claim to know what Burns is exactly. Maybe he is a vampire. The show has hinted at this in Treehouse of Horror segments. Maybe he is a demon. His affinity with the Prince of Darkness suggests he is at least comfortable in that world. Maybe he is simply so saturated with malice, greed, and self-interest that death itself cannot find a way in. His body is too toxic for disease and too stubborn for mortality. Whatever he is, Burns has transcended normal human limitations. He is an ancient entity wearing the skin of a frail old man, and that frailty is itself a kind of camouflage. People underestimate Burns because he looks weak. He trembles. He can barely lift a baseball bat. The wind threatens to knock him over. But behind that withered exterior is something that has outlasted empires, survived plagues, and watched generations of Springfield residents live and die while he remains eternal at the top of the hill, looking down. And there is one more detail that the theory latches onto: Burns' relationship with Smithers. Waylon Smithers has been Burns' personal assistant for the majority of the series. He is utterly devoted to Burns in a way that goes far beyond professional loyalty. Smithers' devotion is almost religious in its intensity. He worships Burns. He attends to Burns' every need. He protects Burns from threats. He forgives Burns for every cruelty, every insult, every act of callous indifference. The theory suggests that Smithers' devotion is not merely employment loyalty or personal affection. It is the devotion of a follower to an entity they recognize on some primal level as something greater than human. Smithers may not consciously understand what Burns is, but his instincts tell him that Burns is not just a boss. Burns is something ancient, something powerful, something that demands and deserves absolute fealty. Smithers' devotion is the natural response of a mortal in the presence of something immortal. He doesn't know why he can't leave. He doesn't know why he keeps coming back despite the abuse. He only knows that Burns commands something deeper than respect. Burns commands awe. Consider also Burns's recurring catchphrase, excellent, spoken with those steepled fingers, that thin smile, those ancient eyes. It is the expression of a being who has seen it all, who has watched civilizations rise and fall, who treats human affairs as a game to be played for amusement. Burns does not get excited. Burns does not get surprised. Burns says excellent, the way a chess grandmaster acknowledges a good move, not because it matters to him emotionally, but because it satisfies his intellectual curiosity about how the pieces will continue to move. That is the theory of Burns's immortality, and it reframes every interaction Burns has ever had. Every time he forgets Homer's name, every time he releases the hounds, every time he schemes and plots and manipulates, he is not just a greedy old man. He is something far older and far more dangerous, playing a game that started long before Springfield existed and will continue long after everyone in it is gone. If you're still with me, go ahead and subscribe now. We're moving into the final stretch of this journey, and the last 4 theories might be the most fascinating of all. We're going to talk about the man next door, the man who might be the devil himself, and the bartender who knows too much and has nothing left to lose. Subscribe, get comfortable, and let's talk about Ned. Nedward Flanders Jr., the neighbor, the churchgoer, the widower, the man with the most aggressively pleasant demeanor in all of Springfield. Ned Flanders is Homer's next-door neighbor and, depending on the episode, his best friend, his worst enemy, his moral superior, and his punching bag. Ned is kind, generous, patient, forgiving, and relentlessly, almost suspiciously, good. And the first theory about Ned asks a question that the show itself has explored more than once. What if Ned Flanders is the devil? Let's start with the name. Ned is an Old English colloquial term for the devil. This is documented. This is real. The word Ned has been used in English folklore and dialect as a reference to Satan for centuries. The Simpsons writers, a room full of Harvard-educated comedy writers with deep knowledge of linguistic history and cultural references, named their most religious character after the devil. Now consider Treehouse of Horror 4, the 4th annual Halloween special, which aired in season 5. In one of the 3 segments, Homer sells his soul to the devil in exchange for a donut. And when the devil appears, he takes the form of Ned Flanders. Not a random demon, not a generic monster, Ned Flanders. The show chose deliberately and specifically to make the devil look exactly like Homer's devoutly Christian neighbor. The show presented this as a joke, of course. The humor comes from the contrast between the devil and the most wholesome man in Springfield. But the theory takes it further and asks, what if it wasn't entirely a joke? What if the writers were telling us something that operates on multiple levels? The theory splits into 2 possible readings, and both are equally compelling. In the first reading, Ned is the devil. He is a supernatural being who has taken up residence in Springfield to observe, tempt, and test its residents. His perfection is not human, it is performed. No real person could tolerate what Homer does to him. No real person could maintain that level of patience, that level of forgiveness, that level of unwavering goodness in the face of constant provocation. Ned's niceness is too nice. His family is too perfect. His children are too obedient. His faith is too unshakable. Real people have breaking points. Real people get angry. Real people resent their neighbors when those neighbors destroy their property, insult their family, and take advantage of their generosity year after year after year. But Ned never truly breaks. He bends, he strains, he occasionally raises his voice, but he always returns to baseline. He always forgives. He always turns the other cheek. This is not human behavior. This is a performance by a being that is simulating human goodness because it needs to maintain a cover. And what is the cover for? Temptation. The devil's primary function in Christian theology is not to punish. It is to tempt. And Ned's very existence is a temptation for Homer. Ned's perfect house tempts Homer to covet. Ned's perfect family tempts Homer to envy. Ned's perfect faith tempts Homer to doubt. Ned's perfect life sitting right next door, visible every single day, is a constant reminder to Homer of everything he is not. And Homer's response to that temptation, his resentment, his cruelty, his petty attempts to undermine Ned, reveals the darkness in Homer's heart. If Ned is the devil, then his mission is not to destroy Homer. It is to expose Homer, to create a mirror so perfect, so righteous, so infuriatingly good that Homer's own flaws become impossible to ignore. And it works. Homer's worst qualities, his jealousy, his selfishness, his cruelty, his vanity, all come out in response to Ned's goodness. The devil doesn't need to drag Homer down. He just needs to stand next door and let Homer drag himself. The second reading of the theory goes in the opposite direction. In this version, Ned is not the devil. Ned is the most righteous man in Springfield, and the devil is specifically targeting him. This is the Job reading. In the book of Job, Satan makes a wager with God that even the most faithful man can be broken if enough suffering is inflicted upon him. God allows Satan to test Job by destroying everything he has. His wealth, his health, his family, all of it is taken away. And Job endures. His faith holds. He suffers, but he does not curse God. Ned Flanders' life follows the same arc. In the early seasons, Ned has everything. A beautiful wife, Maud, 2 well-behaved sons, Rod and Todd, a successful business, the Leftorium, a beautiful home, a strong faith community. His life is, by every measure, blessed. And then the show begins to systematically destroy everything he has. Maud Flanders dies in season 11, episode 14, Alone Again, Natura Diddley. She is knocked off the top of a grandstand by t-shirt cannons at the Springfield Speedway. It is sudden, random, and cruel. The love of Ned's life is taken from him in an instant for no reason, with no warning. The show confirmed that the character's death was partially motivated by a real-world pay dispute with voice actress Maggie Roswell. But within the narrative, Maud's death is senseless. It is the universe punishing a good man for no discernible reason. After Maud's death, everything gets harder for Ned. His business struggles. His sons grow up without a mother. His attempts at new relationships fail. His faith is tested over and over and over again in ways that go beyond normal hardship into what feels like deliberate, targeted cruelty. And yet Ned endures. Like Job, he bends but does not break. His faith strains but does not snap. He continues to pray, to attend church, to treat his neighbors with kindness, to forgive Homer for every insult and every injury. He continues to be good in a world that gives him no reason to be. There is something almost supernatural about Ned's capacity for forgiveness. Homer has borrowed tools and never returned them. Homer has destroyed Ned's property. Homer has mocked Ned's faith, his family, his appearance, his mannerisms. Homer once let his house burn down rather than call the fire department to Ned's home. And Ned, every single time, forgives him, not grudgingly, not with resentment, genuinely, completely. As though each offense is immediately processed, accepted, and released. This forgiveness is either the product of a faith so deep that it has genuinely transcended normal human psychology, or it is the product of a test so severe that the person being tested has simply stopped expecting anything else. Ned's forgiveness might not be grace. It might be exhaustion. He might forgive Homer not because he has found peace with Homer's behavior, but because he has resigned himself to the fact that Homer will never change, that the testing will never end, and that the only way to survive it is to stop expecting anything different. In the book of Job, the testing eventually ends. God speaks, Job is rewarded, his fortunes are restored, his suffering finds meaning. Ned is still waiting, 35 years in, and Ned's test has not ended. God has not spoken, the suffering has not found meaning. Maud is still dead, the Leftorium still struggles, Homer is still next door, and Ned is still smiling, still praying, still saying "Okilly dokilly neighborino," while the universe continues to dismantle everything he loves. Whether Ned is the devil testing Homer or a righteous man being tested by the devil, the theory reframes his character from a simple comedic foil into a figure of cosmic significance. Ned is not just Homer's neighbor, he is a spiritual battleground, a place where the forces of good and evil meet, wearing cardigans and quoting scripture. That is the first theory about Ned Flanders. And the second theory takes a completely different approach. It doesn't ask what Ned is, it asks what Ned sees. This theory, originally proposed by a fan using the name Anomalocaris, argues that The Simpsons is not an objective depiction of Springfield. It is Springfield as seen through Ned Flanders' eyes. The entire show, every episode, every character, every event is filtered through Ned's hyper-religious worldview. Ned is the unreliable narrator of the entire series. Think about what this means. Homer appears as a gluttonous, drunken, lazy fool. But is that really who Homer is, or is that how Ned sees him? Ned, who judges everyone by the standards of his faith, who sees the world in terms of sin and virtue, who cannot look at a man drinking a beer without seeing moral failure. Through Ned's eyes, Homer's flaws are exaggerated because Ned's framework for understanding the world amplifies those flaws into sins. The Simpson family appears dysfunctional. But is it really? Or does it only look that way through Ned's lens? Ned, who measures every family against his own impossible standard of Christian domestic perfection, sees the Simpsons as chaotic and broken because they don't match his template. A family that argues at dinner, that watches too much television, that doesn't pray before meals, registers as deeply flawed in Ned's moral calculus, even if, by any normal standard, they are just a regular family doing their best. Springfield appears full of sin and chaos, but is it? Or does it look that way because Ned sees the secular world as inherently corrupted? The bars, the crime, the corruption, the moral compromises that every citizen makes to get through the day. All of these are magnified by Ned's perspective into a portrait of a town in spiritual freefall. Springfield is not actually worse than any other town. It just looks that way through the eyes of a man who sees sin everywhere he looks. And here's the most unsettling part of the theory. The Flanders family appears perfect. Rod and Todd are obedient. The house is immaculate. The faith is unshakable. But if Ned is the narrator, then of course the Flanders family looks perfect. Ned cannot see his own flaws. He is incapable of evaluating himself with the same critical eye he turns on everyone else. His family looks perfect because he's the one telling the story, and no narrator has ever made themselves the villain of their own narrative. The evidence for this theory is subtle, but pervasive. The show's moral framework consistently aligns with a worldview that judges characters for traditional vices. Homer is punished for gluttony, sloth, and wrath. Bart is punished for disobedience and disrespect. Marge is sometimes rewarded for patience and sacrifice. Lisa is treated as righteous when she champions causes that align with compassion and justice. The show's moral compass, its sense of who deserves punishment and who deserves reward, maps remarkably well onto a Christian ethical framework, which is exactly the framework Ned would use if he were the one constructing the narrative. If this theory is true, then every episode of The Simpsons is a kind of parable, a story told by a deeply religious man about the world he sees outside his window, a world full of sinners he prays for, fools he pities, and darkness he cannot escape. And somewhere in that story, buried beneath the moral judgments and the spiritual anxiety, is the real Springfield. A normal town with normal people, seen through the eyes of a man who can't stop looking for the devil in everything. Consider what this means for individual characters. Mo appears as ugly, desperate, and suicidal. But is that who Mo really is? Or is that how a devoutly religious man sees a bartender? Someone who profits from sin, who enables drunkenness, who keeps the town's men away from their families? Ned would see Mo not as a lonely man trying to survive, but as an agent of temptation, and his narrative would render Mo accordingly, ugly on the outside to match the ugliness Ned perceives on the inside. Barney appears as a hopeless drunk, a cautionary tale of wasted potential. But Ned has a specific relationship with alcohol. He doesn't drink. He views drinking as a sin. Through his lens, every drinker in Springfield is fallen, and Barney is the ultimate fallen man, a person so consumed by vice that he has lost everything that made him human. The real Barney might be a man with a problem who is otherwise functional and kind. But Ned's version of Barney is a grotesque, a living sermon about the wages of sin. Even the town itself, Springfield, has a burlesque house, a casino, a bar on every corner, a corrupt mayor, a criminal underground, and a population that seems to revel in moral chaos. But what if Springfield is actually just a normal American town? What if it has the same mix of good and bad that any town has? Through Ned's filter, every flaw is magnified, every sin is spotlighted, and every moment of moral failure becomes evidence for the prosecution that Ned is perpetually building against the secular world. That is the theory of Ned Flanders as the unreliable narrator of The Simpsons. And together, these two Ned theories give us a character who is far more than the friendly neighbor the show presents on the surface. Ned is either the devil walking among us, or the last good man standing against the devil's assault. He is either the architect of Springfield's moral landscape, or the prisoner of his own perspective. He is either testing Homer or being tested himself. And the fact that you can argue convincingly for any of these interpretations says something profound about how deeply layered The Simpsons truly is. We are almost at the end now. One character remains, the man behind the bar, the man with the rag and the shotgun, the loneliest man in Springfield. Let's talk about Mo. Mo Sislak, bartender, ex-boxer, failed inventor, failed romantic, failed at nearly everything life has asked of him. Mo stands behind the bar at Mo's Tavern, the same bar, the same taps, the same rag wiping the same counter, night after night, year after year, decade after decade. He serves drinks to the same men who have been sitting on the same stools since the show began. Homer, Lenny, Carl, Barney. They come, they drink, they talk, they leave. And Mo stays. The first theory about Mo is that he is the most tragic figure in all of Springfield, and that his tragedy is rooted not in ignorance like Homer's, or in suppression like Marge's, or in refusal like Bart's. Mo's tragedy is rooted in clarity. Mo sees everything, he understands everything, and he serves the drinks anyway. Think about what Mo witnesses every single night. Homer Simpson sits on that bar stool and drinks. And Mo knows, because Mo has eyes, and Mo has lived through decades of watching this happen, that Homer's drinking is destroying him. Homer is killing himself slowly, one duff at a time, and Mo is the one handing him the weapon. Mo watches Homer neglect his family. Mo watches Homer spend money he doesn't have on alcohol he doesn't need. Mo watches Homer make the same mistakes over and over, night after night, and Mo pours another beer and takes another $1. Barney Gumble sits on another bar stool, and Barney's story is even worse. There's an episode that shows what Barney could have been. Mr. Plows and other episodes reveal that Barney was once a promising, intelligent young man. He was Homer's classmate in high school. He had potential. And then Homer offered him a beer at a party, and Barney's life was over. Barney became the town drunk, the man who can barely stand, the man whose belches have become a punchline, the man who sleeps in ditches and wakes up in places he doesn't recognize. And every night, Barney comes to Moe's, and Moe serves him. Moe knows what alcohol has done to Barney. Moe watched it happen in real time over years and years and years. Moe has seen Barney sober in episodes where Barney temporarily gets clean, and he has seen the glimmer of the man Barney was supposed to be: intelligent, artistic, capable of moments of genuine beauty. And then Barney falls off the wagon, comes back to the bar, and Moe hands him another drink. This is Moe's existence. He runs a machine that converts human potential into profit. His customers walk in with their problems and their sorrows and their loneliness. And Moe gives them temporary relief in exchange for money, knowing that the relief is temporary and the damage is permanent. He is the ferryman of a river that nobody comes back from. And he keeps rowing because it is the only thing he knows how to do. And Moe cannot escape. He is trapped in this bar the same way Homer is trapped at the power plant. Moe has no family, he has no romantic partner, he has no close friends, not really. His customers are not his friends, they are his revenue. They need him, but they don't love him. They come for the alcohol, not for Moe. And when the bar closes, when the last stool is empty and the last glass is washed, Moe is alone. Completely, totally, devastatingly alone. The show has not been subtle about this. Moe has attempted suicide multiple times across the run of the series. He has tied nooses, he has stood on ledges, he has spoken openly about wanting to die. These moments are played with the show's typical dark humor, but beneath the jokes, the pain is real. Moe Scheisslak is a man who sees no reason to continue living and continues living anyway because the alternative requires an energy he doesn't have. And here's the cruelest part. Moe is what Homer would be without Marge. Think about it. Homer and Moe are mirror images. Both are alcoholics. Both are lonely. Both are trapped in jobs they didn't choose. Both are haunted by the sense that life has passed them by, that the best years are gone, that the future holds nothing worth anticipating. The only difference is that Homer has a family. Homer has Marge, who loves him despite everything. Homer has Bart and Lisa and Maggie. Homer has people who need him and people he needs. Homer has a reason to go home at night. Moe has no one. Moe goes home to an empty apartment above a bar that smells like sadness and floor cleaner. Moe is Homer without the safety net. Homer without the love. Homer without the hope. Moe is the answer to the question, what would happen to Homer Simpson if nobody loved him? And the answer is Moe's Tavern. The answer is a man standing behind a bar, serving poison to his only companions, waiting for a phone to ring with a prank call from a 10-year-old boy because at least that means someone is thinking about him. The bar itself is a kind of purgatory. People come to Moe's to forget. They come to drink away their problems, to escape their wives and their jobs and their lives for a few hours. And then they leave. They go back to the world. They wake up in the morning and carry on. But Moe stays in the purgatory. He lives there. He sleeps there. He never leaves. The escape hatch that his customers use is the prison that Moe is locked inside. And yet, for all his misery, Moe is capable of extraordinary tenderness. There are episodes where Moe's kindness breaks through the gruff exterior in ways that are genuinely moving. He has risked his own safety for his customers. He has given advice that saved marriages. He has, in his own clumsy and often inappropriate way, tried to connect with the people around him. He has written poetry. He has shown artistic sensibility. He has demonstrated, in flashes so brief they're easy to miss, that underneath the ugliness and the bitterness and the despair, there is a person who wants desperately to love and be loved. But every time Moe reaches for connection, the world slaps his hand away. His romantic pursuits end in humiliation. His attempts at friendship are rebuffed. His moments of vulnerability are met with mockery. The show uses Moe's ugliness as a running joke, his physical appearance as a punchline that never stops being deployed. And while the audience laughs, Moe absorbs a message that the world keeps sending him. You are not wanted, you are not lovable, you are the punchline, and you will always be the punchline. There's an episode where Moe gets plastic surgery and becomes handsome. For a brief, shining moment, the world opens up for him. People are kind to him, women are interested in him. Doors that were always closed suddenly swing open, and then the surgery reverses, his face returns to its original state, and the world closes again. The doors slam shut. The kindness evaporates. Moe is back behind the bar, wiping the counter, waiting for the next customer to walk in and the next customer to walk out. The message of that episode is devastating. Moe's life is not bad because of bad luck or bad choices. Moe's life is bad because the world has decided he is unworthy, and that decision is written on his face, literally, in features he did not choose and cannot change. His prison is not just the bar. His prison is his body. His prison is being Moe Seislak in a world that rewards the beautiful and discards the rest. That is the theory of Moe as the most tragic figure in Springfield, and it transforms every scene at Moe's Tavern from a comedy set piece into a portrait of despair. The drunk jokes, the ugly jokes, the suicide jokes, they are all covering for a character whose pain is so deep and so constant that the show can only address it through humor because addressing it directly would be unbearable. The second theory about Moe is stranger, wilder, and far more speculative. But it has its own dark logic, and it ties together some loose threads in a way that is hard to dismiss entirely. The theory goes like this. Moe, at some point, gained access to Professor Frink's time machine. Professor Frink, Springfield's resident mad scientist, has built functional time machines on more than one occasion in the series. Time travel is an established part of the Simpsons canon, at least in the Treehouse of Horror episodes and in certain mainline storylines. It exists. It works. And the theory suggests that Moe used it. The theory argues that Moe traveled back in time to alter his childhood, to give himself a better start, to change the circumstances that led to his miserable life. But something went wrong, the timeline shifted, Moe's new identity collapsed, and the person he became in the altered timeline was not a better version of Moe, it was Barney Gumble. Moe became Barney, or rather Moe's altered self stumbled into Moe's Tavern, forgot who he was, and became the barfly who would sit on that stool for the rest of his life. Barney is Moe. Moe is Barney. Two versions of the same broken person split by a time paradox and reunited in a bar where neither of them can escape. It sounds insane, and it is. This is one of the more outlandish theories we've covered tonight. But there are details that make it linger. Moe and Barney are both alcoholics. Both are trapped in Springfield. Both orbit Homer's life. Both are fundamentally, desperately lonely. They are more similar than any other two characters in the show, and they exist in a relationship that defies easy explanation. Barney is Moe's worst customer. He runs up tabs he never pays, he creates messes, he drives away other patrons. Any rational business owner would have banned Barney years ago. But Moe never does. Moe tolerates Barney. Moe lets Barney sleep it off on the floor. Moe covers for Barney. Moe keeps Barney around long after any sane person would have shown him the door. And the theory says this is because Moe can feel, on some subconscious level, that Barney is connected to him, that Barney is him. That throwing Barney out would be like throwing out a part of himself that he can't bear to lose, even if that part is broken. Even if that part is ugly, even if that part is everything Moe hates about his own life staring back at him from a bar stool. Moe cannot throw out Barney because Moe cannot escape himself. It is a wild theory. It requires time travel, memory loss, and a level of science fiction that The Simpsons only engages with in its most experimental episodes. But it captures something true about these two characters and their relationship. Something that goes beyond bartender and customer, beyond acquaintance and drinking buddy. Something that feels almost familial, almost identical, as if they were two reflections of the same broken mirror, sitting in the same bar, drinking the same beer, trapped in the same life. That is the theory of Moe and Barney, and with it, we have reached the end of our journey through the dark theories of Springfield. 16 theories, 8 characters: Homer, Marge, Bart, Lisa, Maggie, Mr. Burns, Ned Flanders, and Moe. Each one with 2 theories that reframe the comedy you grew up watching into something darker, deeper, and more complex than the surface level ever suggested. Homer might be dreaming. He might be a genius who chose ignorance. Marge might have shot Mr. Burns. Her hair might be a monument to everything she buried. Bart might be the smartest Simpson who refuses to prove it. His prank calls might be a lifeline between 2 lonely people. Lisa's intelligence might be a curse that drives her toward villainy. Maggie might be the most dangerous person in the family. Her silence might be the only thing keeping the show alive. Mr. Burns might keep Homer employed as a strategy. Burns himself might not be human. Ned Flanders might be the devil. The entire show might be told from Ned's perspective. Moe might be the most tragic figure in Springfield. Moe and Barney might be the same person. Some of these theories are famous, some are obscure, some are firmly supported by canonical evidence, and some require a leap of faith. But all of them emerge from the same source: 3.5 decades of episodes, over 800 installments of a show that has given fans more material to work with than almost any other series in television history. The Simpsons has been running so long that it contains multitudes. It has generated enough canonical material to support dozens of readings, dozens of interpretations, dozens of frameworks for understanding what this show is really about. And the writers know it. They know about the coma theory. They know about the genius theory. They know about the Ned theories and the Marge theories and the Burns theories. They have acknowledged them in episodes, parodied them in Treehouse of Horror segments, and left deliberate ambiguities in the text for fans to discover. The writers of The Simpsons are not oblivious to the dark readings of their work. They are complicit in them. They plant seeds and let the audience grow the garden. That is the beauty of a show that runs for 35 years. It becomes more than a show. It becomes a mirror. It shows you whatever you bring to it. If you come looking for comedy, you'll find it. If you come looking for heart, it's there. If you come looking for darkness, for theories, for hidden patterns and secret meanings, the material is waiting. The episodes exist. The evidence is there. You just have to look, so the next time you watch The Simpsons, the next time you see Homer eating a donut, or Marge fixing her hair, or Bart scrawling on a chalkboard, or Lisa playing her saxophone, or Maggie sucking on her pacifier, or Burns releasing the hounds, or Ned saying, "Hiddly-ho, neighborino," or Moe wiping down the bar, take a moment, look a little deeper, ask yourself what's really happening beneath the surface. Because in Springfield, nothing is ever quite as simple as it looks. Thank you for spending this time with me tonight. I genuinely mean that. Whether you listened to every word or drifted off somewhere around the second Marge theory, I'm glad you were here. If you enjoyed this, please take a moment and subscribe to the channel. Every single subscription makes a difference and helps us keep making content like this. And if you know someone who loves The Simpsons or someone who just needs something to fall asleep to, share this video with them. It would mean the world. I'll see you in the next one. Sleep well.